all you beautiful people. This is Learn to Love Yourself or Serenity with Rosie. And today I wanted to come on and we're going to talk about how to be unapologetically yourself. But first, I want to take a deep breath, clear my energies, and give you all a moment, because all I want to bring is the truth as I know it. And we all have different truths. So you have to find out what your truth is. So I ask our guardian angels and ask your guardian angels to be here with us while we have this conversation. So, what does it mean to be unapologetically yourself? To me, that means that you're not swayed by what others say around you. You're not swayed by what they try to tell you. And it's just like these videos, for instance. Sometimes I come on here and after I'm like, oh, my hair looks terrible, or all kinds of things. And yet I'm just like, no, I want them to know and see that I'm the real me. I don't want to put on a show for you. I want to bring as much truth to this that the truth can be felt by you so that you can feel that peace. Because that is my whole goal here, is to help you see how I have learned to embrace myself. Therefore, you can also find that as well. Because all of us have we all have the capacity to grow. We all have the capacity to learn. And we all have the capacity to see. And there's so many different things that come to mind. And maybe it's from my earliest memories. Like I mentioned, growing up, we couldn't go to the store even without people yelling at us or calling us names because we looked different. And so maybe at that young age, I learned where it doesn't bother me. I mean, sure, at first it did, but then you realize that people that have stuff to say about you, especially superficially, are generally from superficial people. And it's like I told one of my friends, she was asking me, and I says, why would you want to take advice from someone that you wouldn't even you don't respect them? So why should you take their advice? Why should you take their criticism if you wouldn't take their advice? And so I think in general, we all need to just be more kind to each other. We all need to be more understanding, more loving. And another thing is, a lot of us think that we are the center of the world, and we are in our world. But in someone else's world, they're the star of the show. Their world evolves around them and their decisions. That's why a lot of times, especially if you're self-conscious and you think everyone's going to notice, well, guess what? Half the time, they don't even care. They don't notice. And I'm not to say that in a harsh way, but they're not as fully invested in you as you are because they're not you. And that comes to another point of how it's so easy to find fault in others. But then when we stop and realize, sometimes we do the same thing, or we've seen the same thing, and we have to learn how to have grace for ourselves and our different struggles that we're going through. Because it's easy to give compassion to someone who's hurting. But how many times do we stop and give compassion to ourselves? How many times do we stop and give ourselves that extra love, that extra care, that extra understanding? Because if you're not true to yourself, how do you be true to anyone else? And I, for one, have been working on this for years now. Pretty much ever since my stroke, it was a big wake-up call for me, because I wasn't valuing myself. I just thought I was raised to be a servant to all. And I thought that was my only mission in life, is to be a servant. And then I come to realize that if I don't take care of me, I can't take care of anyone else. And that's why, when you fly, they tell you to put your oxygen mask on yourself first. Because if you're not good, how are you going to be good for others? If you're a mom and you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to be able to take care of those little blessings that you have? How are you going to show up in the world as your best self, your highest timeline? Because that is where you're going to find your happiness, where you're going to find your joy, and that's where you're going to find your peace. And so being able to be authentically yourself means that it doesn't matter what people say around you. It doesn't change who you are. You stand in your truth, regardless of what they say, regardless of what they do. It doesn't change who you are. You don't respond to people's comments or remarks the way and the energy they're given to you. You respond because of how you are, what kind of a person you are inside. Did they say something that triggered you? Does it apply to you? If it triggers you, it probably applies somewhere. And so that's just another thing that we all get to work on. And there's sometimes things come up, and it's just to tell you it's not a bad thing to have triggers. It's a good thing, because that's your body telling you, I was hurt here. I need you to look at it and heal it and help me overcome this. Instead of thinking it's an enemy and we just try to run away. And so being able to just be yourself, because you are enough just as you are. You are perfect, perfectly imperfect. And that is what you're supposed to be. You're not supposed to be anything else. You're exactly perfect as you are. And your truth is. And that is the most important. So many people, we live in a world where so many people are trying to portray an image or a personality of how they are. And that's not who they are. That's just a figment of the imagination of what they want. It's an illusion of what they want you to think they are. Because we all want to seem like we don't have faults. We don't have failings. We don't have disappointments. But we all do. We all have those times of hurt and pain and suffering where we just need somebody to tell us it's going to be okay. And so I want to be there to tell you that it's going to be okay. You will get through this. I know it's hard right now, but you will get through this. And I'm not saying I have it all figured out, but there were so many times in my life that I can say I didn't know if I was going to get past it. And you know, the biggest thing is you just hang in there. Keep trying. Something will happen. It's always darkest right before the dawn. So I just want to encourage all of you. You're so beautiful as you are, so don't try to be anyone else. Just be you, because there's no one else like you. And you're perfectly imperfect, just like me. All of us. But I want you to know how loved you are and how you are all amazing creators. And I am benefited from all of your examples and insights that you share with me. Helps broaden my perspective, and so I very much appreciate it. Have a wonderful night.